Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of our Mindset X Factor podcast. I'm really excited for our episode today because we've got a wonderful guest, a good friend of mine, Mr. Stefan Lessing. He's in fact part of our MCA team. He's joined us this year from a bit of a sabbatical. He was with us for some time and he went off and did some very exciting things. And he's come back and joined us as our Chief Business Development Officer, as well as a facilitator and a coach. He's got years of experience in this field with coaching different types of people in different industries. And so many people have commented how much they've enjoyed his delivery, his style, his words of wisdom, his life experiences that he shares with them. And we're obviously going to draw on a lot of those experiences today, Stefan. And he's a father, he's a husband, and just an all-round good guy. So, Stefan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Raynor, and a grandfather as well.
Oh, yes, and a grandfather as well. So just another notch to tick off, which is
the one I'm most proud of.
Yeah, we can't forget about that for sure. But that's fantastic. But Stefan, thank you so much for joining us. I obviously wanted to get you on because you've had a lot of experiences in your life, which in fact you share with the world in your wonderful, wonderful book called The Break of Dawn, which is just an incredibly inspiring read. You're very open, very honest, authentic, vulnerable in this book, and I've really enjoyed reading it, and I know lots of people that I've spoken to that have read it have also enjoyed reading it. But I would like you to perhaps maybe share with us in summary, what is the story that you share with the world in this book of yours?
Thank you so much for the honor and the privilege to be able to share this on this podcast, Raynor. I think there's nobody on earth that has a plain sailing life. Things happen, things go wrong. And regardless of the size of what happens to you, things sometimes, whether it's small things happening over a period of time or some big thing, we end up on our knees, and some people just don't know how to get up. Some people don't feel it's worth to try and get up and don't find reason for that, especially if they've grown up the way I did. We never had a lot of money, but we were a very, very happy family. We still have close relationships between us. I'm the oldest son of 9 children. I've got an older sister, so big family. Growing up in a small holding up north in Gauteng. And remember at the age of 23 thinking that, can one person be so fortunate and so happy? I met the love of my life. I had a good upbringing and parents that cared for me and siblings that really cared for me, and looking forward with excitement to this life ahead of me, having a position in a big corporate that I enjoyed. I just remember thinking, how can one person be so happy? And I eventually got married and were blessed with children, 3 children. And very suddenly, a couple of things happened that really just smashed my whole world. And in this book, I think the main thing I want to share with people is that, you can live fully again. You can really love and laugh again. It doesn't matter what happened. And so in this book, I decided, as part of my healing through the things that happened to me, number one, a very painful, unexpected divorce through unfaithfulness of my partner, my wife at the time, my inability to save my marriage. And even though we had a dream of helping other couples and marriages and families building and having a meaningful relationship and marriage as I thought we had, not realizing that somebody can be so blind to what's really in front of them and then eventually losing my wife and my family.
Having to suddenly be part of the statistics, from being a happy family with dreams of helping other married couples and families build a healthy life. Together with my spouse, we had that dream. We were the go-to couple, so to speak. And then having to work through the reality that she, without me knowing, were having an affair with my best friend, among others, was a very, very bitter pill to swallow. And then suddenly being part of this statistic where I had to be a father, seeing my kids sometimes only weekends, sometimes the second week, 50-50, was not the picture I had for myself. And then that whole recovery through the role of professional people that have been taught to help people struggle, but also friends and family that really cared for us, cared for me, just healing through that process. Finding reasons to go on was a very, very helpful process. And then when I just thought everything was getting better, the biggest trauma, the biggest pain that I think any parent can ever experience, which I know I'm not alone, was the tragic death of my own son on one of our nature hikes with friends up in the mountains. We fell off a cliff in front of my eyes and died on the spot at the age of just a day before his 11th birthday, which was supposed to have been my day out for his birthday the following day. That really came to the brink of destroying my whole life. And I put it in the book, the tools that I discovered during the recovery of my divorce that became very, very handy at the time when I lost my son. And I really felt that I couldn't go on. I didn't want to go on. And I wanted to give up. So in the book, I share those tools and those moments that saved my life, so to speak, in actual fact. And then how the real bad things that happened to me, without you believing that you would ever even smile again, got to a place where I could help people work through their own. That's how coaching found me. That's where it started, where it all started before I became accredited and before I went full-time into coaching. And my second chance of a second family, and how I got to live my dream eventually. Still living my dream today. And that a person is living your dream doesn't mean that it's plain sailing and that everything is hunky-dory. But the fact that you know that you are busy with what you really want to be busy with, that's all in that book, Raynor. So just as a summary, yes.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for sharing that, Stefan. And I think, like I said, you're very open and honest and vulnerable about what you're experiencing, the thoughts you're having in these moments, and sort of the way you also were questioning yourself and the struggles, and I really appreciated that, because I think a lot of people who are going through similar situations have similar thoughts and experiences that you were having, and to know that there's someone who's going through the same thing that I'm going through, but has yet come out the other side it's nice to see that, because it gives you that hope. It gives you that inspiration that, maybe I can do that as well. So I want to maybe touch on now is, obviously you speak about how that you were able to get through these situations and to get out of these dark places and these dark thoughts that you're having. But maybe you could share with everyone listening now, what did you do? What is it that's helped you to get through this and to find that hope again? Like in your book at the back, it says here, you can live again. To find that hope again, to want to carry on living again. How do you do that?
That is a loaded question that can't be answered very shortly. But I think the key point is
Try your best.
maybe the biggest thing I've learned is how extremely important it is that we are aware of our convictions, what we believe. What we believe makes all the difference in how we deal with things happening in our lives, positive or negative. What we believe about God, what we believe about people, what we believe about ourselves and our own abilities, who we are, our own value. Because our beliefs affect how we think. You just mentioned that different people go through similar and different situations, and they experience some of the same situations. But we think different thoughts and we feel different things based on what we believe about our life, about the situation, about God. So if I, for example, don't believe that there is a God, I wouldn't even think about praying or going to him. If I believe there is a God and he controls everything that happens to me, I'm going to struggle with a lot of emotions towards this God that is supposed to be a loving God, and now these bad things happen to me. If I believe that everything is just, happening by chance, then I might just be blown all over the place, not being able to make very strong decisions in terms of a better future for myself. So we need to be aware of our own convictions and our beliefs. And we need to be aware where our convictions and beliefs are not helping us, where they are actually leading us into a dark place where we don't want to be. And if the moment we start living with more awareness about how our convictions and beliefs are affecting our thoughts, our emotions, and how we treat people and how we deal with circumstances in our lives, there's not much that we can do to build a better future for ourselves. So I think that's the starting point. But then,
sorry, before we go on,
yes,
Stefan, just on that. So obviously the way we like to define our beliefs is that a belief is a truth to me. It is not necessarily the truth. So
yes,
from what I'm getting from what you're saying is that if your beliefs aren't helping you to get out of this dark place and to get through these situations, we need to question those beliefs and question, are these the right beliefs for us? Do we need to change it? How can we view things differently in order to overcome the situation? Is that right?
absolutely. I do believe there is the truth, the bigger truth.
Yeah.
And all of our beliefs and convictions, we all, if we are living with awareness and making decisions, we all find parts of that. And if we discover something within our existing conviction or belief that is not helping us with a positive, healthy, a meaningful life, with healthy, meaningful relationships, then we might just have, or we definitely do have certain things wrong. And if we admit that we are human and we only see parts of that, but there's a bigger truth to be found, then we start looking for that bigger truth, and the truth will be found. And the truth, as you find those nuggets of truth, gradually sets us free. So I believe it is a process of looking for the truth. And therefore my life motto is, I'm a truth seeker. I don't think I have the truth in every part of what I believe. So I'm constantly and consciously seeking for the truth.
Okay, I like that. So looking at our beliefs, trying to seek for the truth, because that's, as they say, the truth sets you free, and that can really help you in this situation. What else? What else did you do to help you through
So
this?
the next part is, from our existing convictions, we tend to then get to this question, why? Why did it happen? And that why can be, why me? Why now? Why in this moment? I mean, I was challenged by this friend of mine on the day of his death, in the weeks before that, to be part of a father-son hike and be one of the speakers and speak to the dads about building relationships with our sons. And it was on that day that he slipped and fell and died. So yeah, I actually struggled with God, and I fought with him, because I am one who believes in God. I believe in a loving Father. I believe that he's involved in our lives, and that is currently part of my truth. But suddenly he didn't make sense. My life didn't make sense, because my definition of how I understood him didn't make sense. And there's big whys that I fought with, and I realized that these whys, I couldn't find answers, and people tried. People come with a lot of answers, thinking that they're helping you, but often just leading you deeper into this dark place, creating more questions and more questions.
Yeah.
So my why, I realized very soon, had no answers, and I realized that the question why is taking me to a very bad place. So I realized it wasn't the right question. So then I realized that the first step for me out of any bad place is acceptance. But people often get this thing of acceptance wrong. They think they need to accept why it happened. That's not what they need to accept, because the why might not have an answer, but they have to accept that it happened, and that it can't be turned back. You can't go back and redo it. It happened. The money is gone. The person is gone. The decision is made. My son has already slipped and fallen. He's dead. I can't bring him back. So the more I fight with the why, especially if in your situation there's not a practical, factual answer to that why. I mean, sometimes a why question makes sense, because sometimes your why is you spend too much on stuff that you don't need. That's why you are in the financial situation you are. But if you do your homework and you believe it's the right investment, and you go with a specific person, and this guy ends up to be a crook, and you couldn't see it at the time, why did he do that? Because he's a crook. I mean, it doesn't bring the money back. What now? So that's the first thing, is we need to get to a place to say it happened. The sooner we accept that something happened, there is a partial sort of recovery, so to speak. It happened. So now we stop asking why, but a lot of people just keep on existing there. They just keep on, put one foot in the front of the other, and they will exist for the rest of their lives, never living fully, never trusting again, or never trying again, or never getting into another relationship again. And in that way, people don't live, they exist.
So it's sort of like trying to, yes, you've accepted that it's happened, but now you live in your life in the fear of trying to avoid something like that happening
absolutely.
again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And you live your reason to be alive. I mean, you lose your reason to be alive. Yeah. So I think that a very, very powerful tool, I would say blessing in disguise, that I have received happened about 5 months before Valdu, my late son's death. Where, as part of my recovery from my divorce, a bunch of friends, we started doing a lot of outside adrenaline kind of stuff. We started doing kloofing, and I bought myself an old 4x4 vehicle, and we went up into high mountains, and we decided we're going to do parachuting. And that's when you go on that weekend camp. You arrive on the Friday morning, and the Saturday morning they give you a crash course on parachuting.
Hopefully not too crash.
A crash course on parachuting. They teach you everything that they have learned over many hours of sky jump. Free. What do they call that? When you're skydiving, skydives.
Yes.
And then on the same day, the afternoon, they take you on your first static line jump, which is very scary. It's very scary. You jump out of that plane, they open the chute, and then you're on your own. You need to somehow get to the bottom safely.
Yeah.
But this parachuter said something that stuck with me. It stuck with me. He said that, your parachute opens, your planning is well, your training has gone well, and even if you had 100 jumps, you do everything well, and something else happens outside of your control, and you realize you're in trouble. So especially for an inexperienced jumper than ourselves, which happened on the day, a strong wind comes up, and suddenly you have to combat the wind with the toggles in your hand. It's two lines that you steer the parachute with.
Yeah.
And he says that the moment you realize that you are not going to, you're not on your way to the safe landing space that they've shown you on photos. Instead, you are on your way to power cables. So there's no question. You don't want to go there. You can't go there. Something happened that you had no control over, that is steering you in a direction where you don't want to go. He said to us, turn your head away from where you're not supposed to be going. And at that moment, you are hanging suspended in this harness with these two lines in your hand, and you steer the parachute by pulling on these lines. And he said, by turning your head away, so if you don't want to go go to what's in front of you, you need to go to what's behind you, and you look over your shoulder like this, you'll see that your shoulder dips. And he explained that the parachute is taking us where we look. And it's true. I've learned afterwards with mountain biking, with so many other things, that where you look, your body responds, and that's where you're going. So if we are focused on the why, and we are focused on everything that we have no control over, we are just getting deeper and deeper into that very dark space. The moment we look at who can help me, where can I go, what should be a possible solution, then answers, opportunities, and ways out suddenly appear that they've always been there. So if you speak to somebody who's working currently through a very sad divorce, you speak to them, you will quickly learn that he or she has been focused on everything this person does wrong, because that's what they're telling you. They tell you how bad they are and how badly they treat them, and because this is what they focused on. But the moment you say, who can help me? Who can I speak to? Who has also worked through something like this that can give me guidelines to deal with these realities? Suddenly, those opportunities show themselves as part of potential solutions. And I remember when I was at the darkest of places, the night after his death, I had nothing left in me to continue. Nothing. Not energy, not a reason, whatever. And I was literally planning my own suicide, lying in a bath in a small little flatlet that I shared with my brother at the time. And the parachute principle, which I actually then subsequently called that old lesson, the parachute principle, which is covered in my book, literally saved my life at that moment. Because I was lying there thinking about Valdo's death, thinking about how tragic that was, and that I had no reason to continue, when this question dropped in my spirit that said, but who's currently asleep in your bed? And I was almost like, for a moment I was lost about this question, who's asleep in my bed? But fortunately, my two daughters, Amore and Talia, very small 4-year and 2-year-old, was lying asleep in my bed. And that was my parachute moment. When I looked away from the death of my son, and I realized that my two beautiful daughters were asleep in my bed, from all the reasons to end it all, I had more reasons to continue. And that saved my life. It got me out of the bath. I made a cup of tea and I got into bed with them. And I realized that the parachute principle means that the wrong question is why. The right question is part of acceptance. What now? This has happened. I can't change it. What now? And even if it just means getting out of the bath, making yourself a cup of tea, and getting into bed with the 2 reasons to go on, it gives you that moment's strength, moment for moment, through every situation, to continue with your life. That's also the reason, the difference between unhappy and happy people, because nobody has just good or bad in their lives. We all have good and bad in our lives. Unhappy people, their parachute is focused on the reasons why they are unhappy. Happy people are focused on the reasons why they could be happy. That's why gratefulness is such a powerful principle. And that's the big lesson I have learned from both my divorce and my son's death.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Stefan. I still I've heard you share that story on a number of occasions. I've read it in your book. I still get emotional when you share it because it is an emotional moment that you're sharing, and it's a very powerful principle that you're sharing. I love that whole parachute principle because it's very true. I think as well, a lot of it is that, like you said, you look for the people that can help you. You know, there's lots of different external factors that can be of assistance to you, of course. But unless you taking that responsibility yourself as well to fix the situation and to get yourself out of that moment, you could have all the help in the world
Absolutely.
externally on the outside. But if you don't help yourself as well, I think it doesn't matter how much support you have on the outside, you'll never feel it and you'll never get out of that. So but obviously, once you accept that part of yourself, you then that external support becomes a lot more effective.
Absolutely.
Because you're willing to accept that help and you're willing to learn and to use it and those sorts of things. So, and that's something that stood out to me in your experience, is that you didn't only rely on other people to do it for you. You also accepted that responsibility to do it for yourself, which I think is very difficult to do. But
Absolutely.
when you have that mindset of, I'm focusing on the good and on the, like you said, those two beautiful daughters of mine that are waiting for me in my bed. You focus in on those things. It gets you in that headspace of being able to do that for yourself. You know,
Absolutely. Nobody can heal us. People can give us the tools and people can give us advice, but it takes a very brave man and woman to take the bull by the horns and then to do the things that we need to do, and to listen to the people that give you advice, because I mean you don't have energy. And I mean, I start off this book by saying, please please don't stop reading because I'm going to share some really bad things in my life with you, but the story has such a beautiful ending. Please don't stop reading. So if we are brave enough, some people might just put it down, you know. But if we are brave enough to keep our eyes focused on what I should do and the next step and the next step, I mean, life presents itself with so many beautiful opportunities that I actually included in my book. That's part of this journey of life that we are all on.
You know, and it's like I said, it's such a good read. It's such a good story. You share so many good principles to help people to work through these types of situations. And I mean, you've probably gone through more than a lot of people do in their lifetimes. But everybody has their hardships they have to go through. So being able to learn from someone who's been through it and gotten through the other side is such a wonderful resource to have. So thank you so much for sharing this with the world and not keeping it to yourself, because I think it's such an important lesson and such an important story for the world to learn from. So thank you so much for that. I just want to share with everyone, if they want to get a copy of your book, they can obviously search for it on Amazon. I know you have to search for the title, The Break of Dawn, and the author yourself, Stefan Lessing, because there are some other books with the same title, of course. It's a catchy title. That's understandable. And you can also get it you can find a link to it on the MCA Training International website, which is www.mcatraininginternational.com, which will obviously be in the caption of this podcast. But Stefan, thank you so much for your time, for sharing this again, for your experiences, and just for being such an inspiration to the world. Thank you for making that choice to still be with us, because we would have lost a lot of wealth and a lot of knowledge if you had taken the other side of the coin on that night that you speak of in your book. So thank you so much for your time.
It is such an honor, and thank you for having me, guys. Thank you for allowing me back into the family, and I am so grateful to be here and to make a difference with you all. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Stefan, and we're very grateful to have you back as well. You're a great asset to the team. But thank you so much to everybody as well for listening. If you enjoyed what you listened to today, what you heard today, please share it with others that you feel could benefit from this. Please like and subscribe to whichever platform you listen to the podcast on. This podcast is out there to try and make a difference in the world, to try and help others, to get us thinking differently, to give that spark again to those that might have lost it. So we're trying to do a lot of good. So we could really use your help in sharing it with others to make the difference that we're looking at making. So thank you so much for listening and for sharing, and we hope to see you on our next episode of the Mindset X Factor podcast. In closing, remember, know who you are, know what you want, go out and get it. Stop making excuses, unleash the champion inside, have fun and have courage, and most importantly, never give up. We'll see you back on the podcast next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye, guys.